Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Girl versus Nerd Boy, episode 6 or 7 or 8.
Numbers don't matter.
Numbers don't matter. It's just another one, and it's less than a week after the previous one, not a month, not a year.
It's 3 days. It's been 3 days. It's a new record.
But there's gonna be a lot of anguish in this episode. I suspect there's going to be a lot of anguish in this episode because Brianna's already warned me, without getting into the topic, that she's already told me that she's going to cause me anguish. Hi,
Yes.
Brianna.
Hi, Russell. How's it going?
Ask me in 45 minutes.
After we talk about my notes.
Oh my God, you have notes. You're shitting me. You have multiple pages of notes.
I always have multiple pages of notes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You know what? You just stay right there. I'm gonna come down. We're gonna take you to a very special place. You're gonna take very good care of you. Okay?
Is it where type A people go?
It's wherever any people like you go. Yeah.
Oh, is there padding on the walls?
Maybe.
And a nice jacket that hugs you?
You get a huggy jacket made of canvas.
Oh, yay.
Yay.
So in case our audience doesn't know, today's topic is the Blade Runner films. I immediately, after we finished talking about Star Wars, since I had nothing to do, put on both Blade Runner films back to back, spent 5 hours of my life watching them.
Oh no.
Oh no. And
maybe that was a torture test you shouldn't have engaged in.
I mean, it wasn't torture.
Okay, good.
It wasn't torture per se.
Okay. Let's just talk about a landmark film, one of the most important films of any genre, much less of the science fiction genre. One of the most influential films in human history. Let's talk about how you feel about that.
Are you my therapist now?
No, but that was like the shittiest setup. Like, just go ahead and say anything that isn't glowing and you're a jerk. So, yeah.
Okay, so first, yes. I can absolutely see how in the 80s, Blade Runner...
You just boomered me. Wow.
If you are sitting in a movie theater, what kind of an experience it can be on a big screen. Like, I see it, I see the visuals of it, but this was not my favorite Harrison Ford performance. They tried very hard for a film noir kind of feel, but obviously, set in the future, and I just don't think it was his strong suit.
Did you watch? Do you know which one you watched? Because there are several versions of this film.
I believe I watched the theatrical release.
So did it have the Harrison Ford narration?
Yes.
Okay. Now, oddly enough, I go against almost everyone else who's ever seen this movie, and I like that one. Mm-hmm. But everyone else, Harrison Ford, Ridley Scott, most of the rest of the humanity on the planet loves the non-narrated one.
I feel that if I watched it without the narration, it would lose that noir film.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't have been as interested since I like noir. Like, I think I would have liked it even less.
Oh, no. Well, I'm in a way, I'm delighted you got to watch that one because I've been looking for, I used to have it and I can't find it anywhere. All I have are the final cut and the director's cuts that are all,
Okay. Yeah.
But whatever.
So,
okay. So, yes, please.
All right. Let's see. Oh, I just kind of wrote down notes at the beginning, so I was sure where I was about the replicants, and they're on the Nexus 6. So replicants have been around for a while. They're used as slave labor. What a big surprise, because robots are less than. Okay, then you introduce Rachel. She's clearly a robot.
Yeah, why clearly? Why is she clearly a robot?
I mean, there is nothing even on a film noir level of the femme fatale being emotionally distant, she was a robot, man. Like
So
in that first
you're
introduction, she
impugning
was
Sean Young's
just,
acting.
it was very flat.
Very
Like
robotic.
yeah, it was very robotic. I wasn't feeling it. You know, she was playing the rich, holier than thou kind of assistant, like, look at where I am in this fancy tower. But I didn't feel it. But maybe because I wasn't really into it already. And that, like, into the film already. Because
If,
what, that's about 20 minutes in?
at the most, yeah, I was just going to
Yeah.
say, if you're already cheesed off with this movie, you should have just clicked off, honey, because that was not, I mean, you're way early into this and you're already hating the main characters and not like, yeah.
I wasn't. But was she really a main character?
Sean Young?
It was
Yeah.
more like she was a prop just to make Harrison Ford's Deckard, like, to give him a goal. And I didn't feel like they were in love at all. I felt like he was sexually attracted to her, but I didn't feel like it was actual love. I don't think their relationship would have lasted in the real world.
It's a pretty dysfunctional at best. Like emotionally, it's very weird, you know?
Yeah,
Like
because when you get to that sex scene, I don't think today's day and age anyone would accept that as like an okay way to begin having sex. It felt more like he was forcing himself on her.
yeah, I would say that's a reasonable interpretation of what was obviously taking place on the screen. It's an uncomfortable scene. It was an uncomfortable scene to watch 40 years ago.
Yeah, like not to say that she didn't want to have sex with him, but more to say that just discovering emotions, because she hasn't been alive for very long. These emotions are new to her. So it's kind of like, this is going to be really messed up. This is like a 25-year-old guy who's had a hard life already, meeting a 16-year-old girl who's kind of figuring out what she's like as a woman. And then he's like, well, I'm into you. We're going to have sex. And she's like, I kind of want to. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that's a very fair appraisal of that.
Yeah,
I it's a
I didn't buy
very
it.
master and slave kind of relationship. You know,
Yeah.
like, of course I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that makes me feel good. That's coming from the heart, wasn't it?
I just don't believe it, their whole relationship at all.
Well,
Like,
so did you have trouble with the second film?
okay, so I
I
did.
don't want to go get too far into that before we tear apart Blade Runner, but
Yeah. Well, all I'm going to say before we get to the second one is
okay.
I remembered why I couldn't remember it. And that's because 3 hours boils down to a man thinks he's special, but he's not.
Oh, that's good.
That's what it boils down
That's
to.
yeah, yeah.
3 hours, lots of empty space, and it's literally, I'm special. Wait, she's special? Oh, just like that.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you hate? Or
Um,
go through your notes. I don't want
go
to.
through my
I
notes.
won't
All right.
lead you any more than I already have.
No, that's you're good. That's how we, because we get off my notes, and these are basically just pointing me in the. I found the Atari sign hilarious.
Oh, all the signs. I mean, the artwork in that film is amazing. And
Yes, agreed.
if you're a geek like me, you have I want to say almost 7 hours of additional like making of and behind the scenes and artwork and interviews. And you've watched all of that and you realize how almost Stanley Kubrickian, uh, obsessed Ridley Scott was in making this film. It's amazing.
See, I would watch that, and I would find that very interesting and entertaining because the set pieces, the art direction, the costumes, those are all cool. His use of negative space, again, when you first go to Deckard meeting Rachel in the Tyrell Tower, the way that that whole scene is set up with them being separate and then they slowly come together even as he's questioning her, like it's a great visual for how their relationship eventually plays out. So visually there's some cool aspects, and like I said, I can definitely see how it would be an experience on a big screen. But I just, maybe if I had been 9 or 10 when I first watched it, like I've watched so many classics when I was a kid, I would love it more.
Maybe.
Maybe. I will never know.
Yeah.
Okay. I wrote down eyeballs because the eyeballs freak me out. It's actually one of my greatest terrors.
Is
of
eyeballs?
Someone poking out my eyeball. That's why I don't wear contacts. Yeah. It's just it's a thing. So when you have the 4 replicants that he's hunting going through trying to figure out going down the list of the people who made them, and they start with the guy making the eyeballs. Yeah. And then I find it interesting when they pick that up in the second film.
Right. I was just going to say that must have been horrifying.
Yep. Yeah. They're like, well, let's dig out an eyeball so that we can check the number on the bottom. I'm like, yep, of course. Of course. Let's not even talk about in the final season of Buffy when Xander gets his eyeball poked out, because that just, I still can't watch that scene. Damn you, Nathan Fillion.
You see the question mark shooting out of my head?
Oh, seriously, man?
Seriously. Yeah.
At least the Buffy movie, the 90s.
No. Not a single minute. Not because I hate it or I have an attitude or anything. I just never got around to it.
Yeah, that's
why I haven't even watched 30 seconds on YouTube.
Like, that's okay. That's all right.
Is it? Is it really?
Yeah.
I don't think you mean that.
No, it is. It's okay. I found it interesting how all of the questions they're testing the emotional responses are tied to animals.
Oh, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, so they're asking, well, great, now I can't remember all the animals, but like the first one is the turtle.
It's a tortoise.
Then, yeah, the tortoise. What's a tortoise? It's like a turtle. I've never seen a turtle. Yeah.
Right. No. And I mean, and it's all about empathy, right?
Because we connect to animals even when we have trouble connecting to humans.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just found that kind of interesting. And then when they work in the factor of the piece of replicant skin that he found is really the snake skin. So that they're comparing the replicants to animals, and since they're using replicants as slave labor, like, isn't that how we treat many animals?
Have you ever read any PKD?
I don't even know what that is.
So Philip K. Dick, the guy who wrote the story,
Philip K. Dick. Okay, yes.
Has written many stories that have been made into popular films, and was a brilliant writer, and liked to explore a lot of themes along this line. I mean, this was very standard kind of PKD story.
I wonder if I read it, if I would have more of a connection to it.
I'm gonna so you've never read any of his stuff?
I don't think that I have, which is pretty surprising for me.
So I'm just going to say that unless you really have like a strong ability to compartmentalize, you might want to stay away from PKD because a lot of it's very paranoid, very.
What you're saying is don't get high first, since I'm extremely paranoid when high.
I'm way saying that. Don't even eat a gummy. Okay, just stay away from that. Read it, leave the lights on, maybe call a friend, Yeah, I mean, it takes me back to you ever Umberto Eco? You ever read any of his stuff?
No.
Oh, Foucault's Pendulum is amazing, and if you can sleep after reading that book,
All
you're a
right, let's
stronger
do it
human
this
than me.
way. The only Stephen King I have successfully read is Under the Dome, and it took me 4 months with sleeping with the light on every night.
Yeah, you definitely want to avoid PKD completely. I mean, he's a
Okay.
brilliant writer, but you don't need to be questioning like, yeah, am I real? Am I a simulation? You know, that whole thing. And how did you avoid Stephen King? My God, wasn't it put on your high chair when you were a little baby?
You would think so,
I
right?
would I would have bet money on that. Yes.
I watched The Shining when I was probably 5 or 6 years old.
That explains a lot.
Carrie, yeah, right. I watched Carrie alone by myself, with only a fire to light the room. I was probably about 7 or 8. I was in the dark with a fire, and yeah,
Yeah.
and I predicted everything that would happen. But that doesn't change at the end when I looked at my dog and I was like, "There's that hand is gonna pop out of the ground," and then I turned. I'm like, "Oh my god, a hand!" I'm surprised. Yeah, jumped
I,
right through the roof.
while I think Stephen King's a fine human being, I'm not a super big fan of his books, which has certainly made me an outcast in some social circles that you might be intimately aware of. So,
Maybe.
yeah.
Um. All right. So let's get back to this. Okay. Yeah. Oh, whatever drink he was drinking at that bar, he got drunk crazy fast. No, like he didn't like he has one sip and suddenly he is on the phone calling Rachel
Right,
like
right. With the booty call thing, like,
yeah. Like he doesn't even hesitate. So at that point is he viewing her as just like is he seeing her with emotions because he knows that she's a replicant, he knows that she's a robot, or is he just seeing her as a sex bot, and that's why he's drunk dialing her?
and was it one drink of one cocktail and already he was ready to yeah
Mm-hmm.
to dial up the booty call? I mean,
Yeah, he was just like, all right, let's do this.
let's get
Like,
some. Uh,
so yeah, that.
okay, so speaking of Blade Runner,
Mm,
was Deckard a human or a replicant?
I think. All right, I know that this is a question that was thrown around for a long time.
Yes.
And I remember when 2049 came out, and I read the article with Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling. And I think he said in it that he wouldn't answer that he's got a personal belief, but he doesn't want to share that with anybody. So, for my own idea, I think that he was human. Now,
Okay.
there are many indicators throughout the film, such as the photos alone, like all of the replicants to help them have feelings or to they give them a history, they are all walking around with photos, so that was very prominently displayed in his apartment, was look at all my photos, I must be real too. um and then like they don't really talk about his history at all. The voiceover in the beginning, he's sitting there, he's like, they don't really advertise for assassins in the newspaper.
Is that your Harrison Ford impression? Because
It needs work.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't feeling it,
That's fine.
but it
Yeah.
was good. I mean, you got the dialogue right, so
Yeah,
you're ahead of
right.
me there.
So they're literally just kind of like, here you go, guys. He's killed a lot of people. Don't really ask anything else.
Yeah, I'm with you in that I've always clung to the belief, even though Ridley Scott came out and said that his intention was to imply that Deckard was a replicant. Was that I've always been with, you know what, he's human. He's a deeply flawed human, and that I think that for me that makes the story better.
Yeah, because
Um,
he's clearly screwed up. I just wish that
oh,
there was more of an explanation as to why he's screwed up. Now, I'm really big on world building, so there's a lot of interesting things where they could have built and you could learn so much about this world. So, for instance, between the end of the movie and 2049, for whatever reason, they decided to make 2 more versions of these replicants with emotions. Like, the first 4 didn't do anything horrible and kill people, so let's try again. Like,
Well, I mean, that's
oh,
that's certainly a very human failing, to keep failing where you know, to just keep
yeah.
going.
You're like,
And
well, just, yeah,
slave labor's it's a popular human affectation.
yeah, we just like to use that over and over again. But I would
Absolutely.
like to see a story about these replicants, like the wars that they're talking about. It's a
Yeah.
bit like the Clone Wars. We heard about the Clone Wars since 1974, but we didn't get to see them until the 2000s. So now we know that in the 28 years between the movies, there are more wars with these replicants and them learning and creating their own culture. Like, I want to see that. I want to know what that's about.
Well, and what are they fighting? Other replicants, humans? They're taking, I mean, aliens? They don't really, you know, that's sort of like just, oh, you've seen the things I've seen, you know, and you get this poetic description, but
Mm-hmm.
there's no, as you said, there's no world building there. There's no details as to like these off-world colonies. Go to the off-world colonies. It's great. Well, wait, there are people killing each other and armies and stuff. Why is that great?
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. Maybe that might be another factor as to why I wasn't quite so into it. There's so many questions that are just out there as questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott, I think, did a brilliant job with this film, but there's definitely not a lot of world building there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's not a lot of exposition about, well, here's some background story and here's that. It's kind of like, here's the basic, you know, you get the scroll at the beginning, you get some Harrison Ford narration, and you're done. That's it. Figure it out. Keep up. Which for me, I mean, 2049 was even tougher because, oh, you know,
Yeah. I mean, I think in a way, when you get to the end and Harrison Ford is saying that they were really just trying to figure out who they are and where they're coming from, um, the replicants are just people asking the same questions that everybody else is asking, only because they are basically toddlers. They do it in a much more violent way. It kind of feels, or I should say, an interpretation could be that there are so many questions left unanswered for the audience because it is an existentialist question overall. Like, that's the core of the film. They don't have answers, so you don't get answers.
right.
And then you're left arguing about it for the next 40 years.
Which again goes back to Philip K. Dick. A lot of his stories are just, I'm going to undermine everything you think about the world and, well, whatever.
Like, good luck.
Enjoy your free fall. Here's a little tiny
Spiraling
thing.
depression, don't worry about it. There's
Yeah,
chocolate and wine at the bottom.
it's okay. It's okay. And that's the wonderful, I mean, his books are amazing and I highly recommend them. I love them. But yeah, it's not, yeah, not necessarily, you don't always end up, you don't close that book and go, oh, wow, I just want to go out and look at some butterflies. You know, I just want to cling to my
It'd be
pillow
a
and
great
cry.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to take a lot of drugs and try to forget.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I would also like to question his Deckard just straight up shooting into a crowd.
Well,
He's got a terrible shot. I can't remember the name of the replicant that he's chasing because Leon is the very first guy at the beginning.
Sora.
Zora. Okay, so yeah, Leon, Zora, Roy, and Pris.
Right.
Okay, cool. So Zora seemed like she would be cool. but you don't get to know her at all. You're just like, cool, she's a stripper with a snake thing. And then she runs and Deckard shoots at her. And I feel like he probably shot a lot of other people while he was trying just to kill her.
Well, Rachel does ask him at the beginning if he's ever retired a human by mistake.
Mm.
At least before the Zora chase. So, I mean, and
it's like he learned how to shoot from stormtroopers.
Well, I mean, let's be realistic in a sense. Look at police shootings today, and you're going to see a parallel there, right? That's far too ominous and horrible to. But yeah, 20, 30 shots, and only one of them hit where they intended to hit. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cops aren't good with guns.
I wonder if they should even have any. Anyways.
Cheers. There's a topic for conversation.
Yeah, so he's just like, I'm gonna shoot into a crowd because I'm chasing one robot.
Right.
Oh, he gets his ass kicked a lot.
A lot.
I love how that like reflects into 2049, and Ryan Gosling gets his ass kicked a lot too. Like they don't. You tighten your fingers like this, guys. Okay, just it's. Maybe move, huh? When that comes at you, duck to the side, maybe? I don't know. Drink less?
He doesn't care.
Yeah, does he just want to get the shit beat out of him?
Well, clearly Harrison Ford doesn't want to, but it's a matter of him being outclassed completely by people that are stronger and faster.
Yes, if you're fighting robots, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Well, they're not robots, but robots is shorthand for...
Yeah. I know that they're synthetic. There might be a little bit of metal in there, but they're growing, which is kind of what you see, especially in the second film, is that it's more that they're grown.
Yeah. And you see that, and you don't see that at all in Blade Runner. And I think that's sort of implied a couple of places that these are organic creations.
Mm-hmm. Because especially when you start with the guy with the eyeballs, and I don't remember the name of the next guy, the one that Pris and Roy kind of steal his house.
J.F. Sebastian? Okay,
yes, Sebastian. Okay, that house is full of creepy-ass puppets and toys, so it's a little bit implied that he views them as toys, which leads back to the slave labor and the question of, does Deckard view Rachel as a being with emotions, or is she a sex toy?
Well, and that's sort of going back again to the original influence, which is these aren't robots. This isn't a trash can. This isn't a car. This isn't a dishwasher. This is a biological creation that is intended to parallel a human. Yet we treat it like a trash can or a dishwasher or an automobile. When we're done with it, we throw it away.
Mm-hmm. Which then creates the interesting question of 2049, when they are officially a species. Because if they can give birth, then they have their own culture. They've learned to feel. They look for comfort and emotion and support from each other and from others. Like, it's a question that people, especially of our skin tone, don't really think about others who are not exactly like them having emotions. They're just things that we can use.
Right. Once your utility is done, it's done. And Deckard says that, I think, in that original meeting, the wonderful scene in Union Station, where the police headquarters, he's, or maybe it's earlier. Is it in the Tyrell building? But he just says, if replicants work, then it's not my concern. If there's a problem with them, then it's my problem.
Yes.
Denying any human agency to these creatures at all, and I think that's certainly one of the underlying points is that how we treat these creatures, these whatever they are, products even, how does that reflect on us? Look at oh God, I don't remember his name now. All of a sudden, Jared Leto,
Yes.
the character he plays in 2049, who's the Tyrell's successor, the another mad genius who's figured it out and knows how to work. And guy's obviously fucking totally Looney Tunes.
Very much so. I think
Very
it's
much
actually
so.
my favorite Jared Leto character.
Is it?
Yeah.
I have to say I don't really like him very much as an actor, but that's just me.
That's fair.
Yeah, no. But anyway, here's this whole like miracle, right? Like, hey, the replicants, some of them at least, can reproduce. So what's the difference between them and humans? And the only thing he cares about is, hey, now I got a cheaper way to make them.
Yeah, right.
Right? Now I got a cheaper way to make them. So it's going to save me money and I can make more. And yay, humanity can go forth into the galaxy. And it's like,
and keep destroying things.
right. Yeah. Like, wow. Wow. And again, obviously that's the point. That's part of the message. I get that. I'm just here to point out the obvious stuff.
Aren't we all, though?
No, that's mainly my job.
See, then my next question was, does Rachel really want to have sex with Deckard? Which I'm...
Doesn't everybody want to have sex with Harrison Ford?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's true.
Answer that question.
Sebastian. Dr. Tyrell just laying in bed, working from his bed. Is that not just all of us right now? It's the things they predicted about the future. Some of them are spot on.
No doubt.
Okay. Why are all 80s villains blonde? Like bleach blonde? I was born in the 80s. I didn't live through it. I need you to explain it.
I don't know if that's an observation I would have made. Which isn't me disagreeing with you. I'm just like, and so the only thing I would say is now, I mean, this movie came out in 82. So certainly early enough in the 80s. I mean, Rutger Hauer's amazing in this movie. And, so if they decided to use him as a prototype, as a paradigm, yeah, I'd say that's not even a bad call. Now, should they all be blonde? Probably not. But
let's fix this. Not all of them, but a great many 80s villains are either naturally blonde or bleach blonde. And it's just something that I was watching it and I'm like, God, another blonde one?
That's interesting. I never would have thought of that.
Okay, so let's kind of just talk about Pris in general. First of all,
oh no,
she was super terrifying.
In the creepy sense, like one of JF's dolls? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she was super terrifying. And she's kind of my favorite sort of bad guy where they don't really care about what they're doing. Roy was just like, hey, we need this guy, so go do whatever you gotta do to get him. And she's like, all right, cool, this will be fun. Like, she doesn't really think about it. She just does.
That's kind of what she was made to be.
Yeah, so is she the least developed of them?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting perspective. I think it's clear because we never really, I mean, Leon's just brutish.
Yeah, he's definitely the thug. He's the muscle.
He's the muscle. He's not the thinking guy. And they make it very clear when they introduce each one of them and you see them and you see their intelligence rating and what they're for. Mm-hmm. All of that little text really telegraphs what's going to go on with these people. I mean, when we see Pris, I think Brian's words are like standard pleasure model, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I get it. She's a sex doll, except she's alive, which means probably everything that we would imply dysfunctionally that means. She just does what people tell her to do, which is sad.
Depressing.
Yeah. Interesting that Roy's the bad guy, but he's definitely the most human of all of them. And not just because we get to spend the most time with him, but because of who he is and what he does. He is brutal. I mean, he kills a couple of people pretty harshly.
With the
But
eyeballs, man. Again with the eyeballs.
little eyeballs on the...
So many eyeballs. Okay. Yeah, I mean...
Eyeballs. Did I say eyeballs?
Not cool, man. Not cool.
Not cool.
I feel like... I wonder who she could have been on her own. Now, she's very physical. They just, with the makeup, the clown makeup, the doll makeup, whatever you want to call it, like, they creeped her out. And I found it kind of entertaining that they said the other chick was supposed to be more of a fighter, but she went down first. Like, instead of fighting, she ran, and she got shot in the back. And yet, Pris, who is literally supposed to be a sex toy, kicks ass. Now, I think there's kind of a parallel in how people view two different types of women right there. Like, if you
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're outwardly strong and you're supposed to be physical, but she was actually scared. She ran. Just because you're physically strong or you project strength doesn't mean you don't have a soft side. And just because maybe you're more sexually in tune or active or more feminine in the classical way doesn't mean you're strong. And I think that Pris really kind of represents that in a great way, and in a way that might have been unintentional, especially since this is the 80s.
To backtrack a little bit, when they're talking about Zora in the police station, and those colonies and the relationship and what these replicants actually do, Bryant says that, yeah, that's Beauty and the Beast in one package. She's ran a political hit murder squad or something like that. And I'm like, so she's obviously intelligent, right? Yet the sex toy, not so much. And they make that, again, pretty clear that it's like says their little intelligence rating, and hers is below Zora's and Roy's. And it's like, why? Why does she, like, it's a very male perspective that your sex doll isn't very smart, doesn't need to be very smart, but your assassin does.
Yeah, that's very unfair, I think. Because couldn't the argument be made that if someone's designed just to kill, they don't really have to think about it? Like, if they're given orders, go kill this person, then they're just going to follow those orders. Now, if you're like a sneaky assassin and you're trying to plan how to not get caught, then yes. But if you're being literally just thrown in, go kill this person, and you're expendable, you kind of don't need to be that intelligent. You just need really good aim.
I agree completely. It's a weird distinction. It's a very sexist distinction in a way.
And it's just, then they just take her out and she doesn't even have a chance to fight back.
No, and it's clear that she's, she fights with Deckard a little bit. Zora does, but
that's true.
For the most part, she just wants to get away. She just wants to be left alone. She's not there to do anything.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, I feel bad now.
Questions. Okay. Oh, can you explain to me why Roy strips down to his underwear to fight Deckard?
I can't explain that at all. It looks cool.
But it doesn't. His
Rucker
thighs are impressive.
Rucker Hauer's pretty ripped,
Yeah, those thighs, man. Those were like sculpted, impressive thighs. But why? I didn't get why Pris had to, except for the part where she's a sex doll, and if she's hiding among all the other toys, then yeah, throw her in a skin-tight leotard, and that way she kind of blends into the background. But there was no point for Roy to do it.
So I could make some assumptions, right? Which is what this show's all about.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, I would say it's probably humanizing him. So we can see he's a person. He's not a robot. He doesn't have gears, or there's not like armature things. You know what I mean? It's like he's got a human body. Whatever's underneath, he's got a human body. I mean, that would be the only place I could really go. You know, I mean, like otherwise, yeah, why? What's the point of why can't he wear his cool coat and everything and just beat the living hell out of Deckard? Because he could.
Yeah.
But
he literally takes the time to undress, which leads me to one of my favorite questions. Why does Deckard run upstairs instead of downstairs?
Because otherwise the movie would be over sooner. Right? I don't know. That's a good question.
You've got a good 30 seconds at least of Roy undressing, and you choose to hide in the bathroom when you could have just ran down some stairs.
Right. And just taken off and but
yeah.
That's the way the movie was written. And, he had to be up high for the sign and for the rain and for the dove and to hang over the edge of the building.
Oh, where the fuck does the dove come from?
Who knows? Who fucking knows?
He just had a dove. He just all of a sudden, and that's in my notes too. Where the fuck did the bird come from?
Well, there's a couple of times when they scare pigeons or doves or whatever in the building when they're fighting. So, but yeah, I mean, again, they're on a roof and it's pouring down rain and you're trying to kill this guy and you grab a bird.
Yeah. Like you take the time to undress. Instead of walking through the door of the bathroom, you put your head through the wall, kind of just to prove that you can.
Very much.
Yeah.
That's straight horror movie.
Yeah. Like, oh, you expect me to come through the door, but look, I'm going to shove my head through a wall. And then you choose to stop to catch the bird. I mean, I guess in a way, he knows no matter what, he's going to catch up to Deckard. And he kind of hasn't chosen what he's going to do. Is he going to seek revenge for the woman that he loved? Is he not? Like, he just doesn't know, I think, at that point.
I mean,
Maybe?
It's obviously a device, right? The dove is that he's holding it, but he's not killing it, which he easily could have done, and then he lets it go when he dies because he knows he's about to die. I don't know.
So was he dying through that entire fight scene?
Yes, he's the oldest one. He says that Pris is oldest, but he's lying.
All right. Yeah, because I thought he clearly stated that Pris didn't have long to live.
Yes.
And that's their ultimate goal, is to find a way to extend their life.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So whole time he's like, I think I got about 20 minutes. I'm just going to chase you around.
Well, during the fight, at one point, he jams a nail through his wrist.
And I thought that was a fight mechanism. Like he was going to use that to punch Deckard, but then he just doesn't.
He knows he's dying. He says, not long now.
Okay.
And he's winding down.
All right.
That's the way I read that, at least.
Because again, I was kind of not really into it that whole time, and I was more very confused by the fact that he stripped down to his underwear, that maybe I just sort of stopped listening, and I was distracted by Daryl Hannah's tongue. When she's laying there dead, her tongue is just sticking out, and then Roy kisses her and it pushes her tongue back in her mouth.
Yeah. So when you say distracted by Rucker Hauer in underwear, do you mean something else, or do you mean
No, I mean, why are you in your underwear?
Okay.
Why did you make this physical decision? But if you're saying that through that whole fight scene, he knows that he's about to die, one
Yes.
explanation could be that he wants to feel with his whole body.
Feel the rain.
Yeah, he doesn't want any barriers between him and the outside world.
I mean, there's the whole little soliloquy at the end that is super famous. You know, the whole tears in the rain thing. Do you know about that?
I'm gonna go
No?
with no.
Oh, so that little soliloquy at the end when he's holding the dove and Deckard is laying there inexplicably saved rather than killed.
Yeah.
He gives this little speech, and the amazing thing about this is Rucker Hauer ad-libbed that shit, and
I
it's
guess I'll have to watch it
brilliant.
again.
You have to watch it again. That one little scene at the end is just, to me, it's that is exactly the way a film should climax like that, because it was beautiful. It was really well done, and yeah, he just made it up. But yeah, I mean, no, I think that's a really good idea that he just wanted to feel.
Yeah, I mean, because that explains this is a brand new species that is choosing when he saves Deckard's life, he's choosing life for someone else over his own. But again, I was confused and distracted by the underwear and then the bird. And then Deckard sees the other cop who is in a car on the ground. Like, he gets out of the car and he's on the ground, but Deckard is on a rooftop and yet somehow talking to each other.
I think you may have confused something there.
No, that guy is definitely. Maybe they're not talking specifically
He's on the roof.
to each other.
He landed his spinner on the roof, his car.
Oh, okay. So he is actually on. He finds Deckard on that. Okay.
And the implication of that is, too, that Gaff, Edward James Olmos, watched this whole thing take place and didn't do anything because he didn't want to.
Yeah, which actually I found in 2049 when Kay is talking to him.
Right.
He specifically says that he and Deckard like to work alone, and they work together to make sure they could work alone.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it clearly Gaff isn't going to actively thwart him, but if Deckard dies, Gaff goes, "Hey, I get a promotion."
Yeah, like, good for me. I worked hard at this.
What did you think of the little origami things that Gaff was doing?
First, anytime a camera zooms in on something small like that, it's important, people, okay? It's not just some random thing. It's going to be representative of something later on. When someone specifically says, like in Star Wars, well, C-3PO's memory is backed up on R2-D2, you don't have to worry, okay, guys? So
you're not going to let that one go, are you?
I'm never going to let that go.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Never. Like, if you're going to tear my heart out in a preview, and then in the movie you're like, just kidding. No, Anywho. So yes, he's... little character thing is I like to make tiny origami things, and then I leave them at crime scenes because I apparently don't know how police work is done. Yeah, like, it's just his thing. So the second you see it, now, is it there so that he can warn Deckard? Well, he already does warn Deckard that they're going to come for Rachel. So is he saying I was already there while you were off fighting?
With the unicorn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could have smoked her, but I didn't.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh.
And get the fuck out of my district because I want your job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Here's my other really big thing. Because he loves her so much, he really stopped to get his 2 broken fingers bandaged before he goes to save her life. That's how much he loves her.
Maybe he did it in the car on the way there.
That professional bandage, he did it. He was driving one-handed.
You're right.
Oh, I'm sorry. He would have been like this. Like, he's all bandaged up, And he's being such a baby about 2 broken fingers. Just pop them back in place, man. It's fine. I can't tell you how many times I've just taken a popsicle stick and some bandage and fixed a broken finger.
Is that true? Have you really done that?
Yes. Yes,
How many
it's very
times?
true. Well, there's the first time I broke my middle finger while skipping. That one I actually went to the doctor for, but after that,
I really thought I was
4
calling you out on
times.
bullshit here, so I'm
No,
impressed.
4 times. You just pull it. Oh, the last one was this middle finger. I jammed it between a doorway at work, and it was like a solid month. I'm like, why hasn't my finger gone back to its regular size and shape? Oh, it's because it points that way now. Pop it back in place. Had my mom 2 rooms over, and she went, what the hell was that sound? I'm like, I was just fixing my finger. So he's a giant baby.
You're tougher than Harrison Ford.
I mean, it's not as bad as it was, but it still points in a weird direction.
Wow, that is freaky. No, yeah.
And I will actually never be tougher than Harrison Ford because that man stapled his Indiana Jones hat to his head.
Is that movie trivia that I was previously unaware of?
Yes, he physically stapled it to his head.
That's fucked up. He
That's
stapled a hat
commitment.
to his head.
Yeah. So when you have an actor that tough, and then I feel just
Jesus.
kind of in general that Deckard, he's kind of just a giant baby.
Well, he
gives off this I'm supposed to be very manly feel, and I think it's a big part of the whole film noir thing they've got going on, but he just isn't.
Okay, so let's talk for a minute at least about 2049.
Mm-hmm.
Which you reduced to, would you mind repeating your formula again?
A guy thinks he's special, but he's not, and then he's sad.
Oh, I love that so much. That is just brilliant. A guy thinks he's special, and then he's not.
Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
No. I mean, and that's and there's a lot of those movies out there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's probably one of the things about 2049. Like for me, like all the themes in Blade Runner, I got it. Like it resonated. It resonated with me. I'm not going to say I got it, and everybody else that didn't like it didn't get it. The whole the who, what is human and the slavery and all of that. I get that. 2049, even though it's the same themes are there, very, very much so. In fact, magnified, right?
Mm.
It really
especially
did
when you look at Joy.
Yeah, it really did seem like it was like, yeah, like this one replicant might be special. No, he's not. Oh, shit. Like, I don't know. A lot of it seemed so pointless. And I loved so much about that movie. Like, Robin Wright is incredible in that movie.
She sure is.
Her. I love her in that movie. I don't know who's the villain, the female villain. I don't remember her name.
I don't know that actress's name. I could look it up, but I don't remember.
No, that's okay. No big deal. But she was good as well. And in fact, where she really shines is the few times where Jared Leto either does something or somebody else does something, and you can tell in her brain, in her assassin henchman brain, she's going, that was fucked up. Like, I shouldn't, this isn't right. And that was a beautiful way to play that because, she doesn't care. She's breaking necks. She's killing people. She's all about the mission, But in any good movie, the villains aren't 100% bad and the good guys aren't 100% good.
Yes, I will never remember who said it, but there is a quote out there about when the bad guy never believes he's bad.
Right.
He thinks he's the hero.
Sure.
And that is the best way to play any villain.
And even taking the step of not always doing bad things. You know what I mean? Not just being
Mm.
unrepentantly evil. Just give me a little bit of good. Okay. Just spare one person or look like you're questioning it. And all of a sudden, maybe there's some humanity there. So Blade Runner,
Mm-hmm.
Blade Runner 2049. Which one would you watch again for pleasure? You have to pick one.
I
I
can't
know that you
choose
don't like
either.
either one.
um okay, I would watch Blade Runner again for the things that I miss to analyze it more.
Okay.
Um Perhaps I would choose Blade Runner to really over 2049 in the sense that I think that the way that filmmakers in the 80s represented the future is really beautiful aesthetically. So the future that
In
they
a
create,
dystopian, beautiful sense, right? Because I mean,
yes.
LA 2019 is horrifying.
Yeah, 2020, if we make it through this year and get to 2049, woo, I'll be amazed.
How about the
But
idea that all of San Diego is LA's garbage dump?
isn't it?
That is such an Angelino kind of perspective. You know what I mean? Like, oh, fuck San Diego. That's where LA puts its garbage now. Anyway,
I
I'm
mean, we
sorry.
throw things in the ocean. Isn't that what San Diego is? Just a big ocean? um, I think that the aesthetics that they created when they're imagining the future is very beautiful in its own way. Like, I mean, the sharp lines, the pyramid shape of the Tyrell building is interesting. I think aesthetically there are some choices that are pretty cool and I admire. So, I mean, a lot of these futuristic things really got it right in the sense that the world is falling apart and overpopulation, and we're just going to be one giant city with no free open land or spaces between. Like, you can either be really rich or you can be a hooker. There are no other
I am
jobs.
so screwed if that's the choices.
Well, actually, you can also be a food stall vendor.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yes. Or more specifically, only women can be hookers, only men can run food stalls, and then you can be really rich.
Oh, yeah,
I guess you
no.
can be part of the police force too.
Okay.
Choices, choices.
What did you think about Harrison Ford in 2049?
I liked him a lot. Well, in general, I like older Harrison Ford more than younger Harrison Ford.
Really?
Just kind of across the board.
Why?
Um, I just do. I think that there's more depth to his characters now because obviously since they're older, they have more experience, they've seen more things. Where out, like, I just didn't really like Deckard in the first film. He has a past that you know nothing about, but you're
Right.
supposed to feel bad for him. You're supposed to connect with him on an emotional level, but I didn't. Second movie, even before I had seen the first one, I did connect with him because I knew that there's something out there that's going to visually show me what his life was like. So then you get to 2049 having finally seen the first movie, and I'm like, all right, I know what you went through. I think you were an asshole when you were younger, but I like you because I know you have, like, there's something behind who you
You
are.
you've kind of described every character Harrison Ford's ever played. You know what I mean? Like Indiana Jones, Han Solo, Rick Deckard, they're all like they're just kind of cartoonish, kind of assholes, but maybe there's some lovable aspects. I don't know. And then later on, it's like the gruff, wiser, a
Yeah.
little more depth. You
I mean,
know?
he plays Harrison Ford. He plays Han Solo again. He plays Indiana Jones again. He plays Deckard again. And you're like, I know where you're
Oh
coming
my
from now,
God.
buddy. I get it.
Speaking of which, I just watched that movie the other night, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls.
for the first time. Was it for the first time?
First time. Yeah. Oh, what an embarrassingly horrible movie. How much money could he have needed to make that movie? Are you going to hate me now?
No, I'm not going to hate you. It's not a
Okay.
good movie.
It's
But
bad.
when you know that there actually is a religious aspect to the crystal skulls, that they are a real thing, like it's not a made up thing. There are people out there who believe in these crystal skulls and the alien connection,
Okay.
then it makes just that much more sense.
Yeah, but it's a horrible movie.
Yeah, but Shia LaBeouf.
Is that good? Because I've never been a big Shia fan.
I grew up watching the Disney Channel and Even Stevens,
So that
so
was good. Okay.
yeah.
I,
I
I,
mean,
I
he's not good in that movie. Nobody
no,
really is.
no, Shia
Um,
LaBeouf is horrible in that
yeah,
movie.
but I will never not love him. You know, when there is an actor out there who they're not good, but some tiny part of you just loves them anyway.
Okay, sure. I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
That's him.
Well,
Okay.
and though I still haven't watched Honey Boy, I really want to watch Honey Boy. His writing and directing debut based on his childhood.
Oh God. Oh
He
God.
had no,
Are
hold
you
on. That guy
serious?
had a hard childhood.
But
'Cause I
but
even
how
yeah,
much up your own butt do you have to be to make a movie about yourself that you're starring in?
he plays his father.
Right.
His father was a pretty crappy person from what
Yes.
I understand.
Yes. Yes. But
So,
still, I mean,
hey,
don't one of your friends grab you by the lapels and go, "Why are you making a movie about your own life that you're starring in?"
because it could be therapy,
It
dealing
could
with
be.
his childhood traumas of being a child actor on Disney, which is hard enough.
I
Like,
it
have
just
you yet
it's
watched Alex Winter's documentary Showbiz Kids?
mm-mm.
Brand new, just came out Wednesday, I think, on HBO Max.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
writing it down.
Alex Winter from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Cannot
Uh-huh.
wait for the third one. Yay, Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh
But
God.
he interviews Will Wheaton, Evan Rachel Wood, oh my God, I can't remember her name. Mara, the girl who played Matilda. Oh,
This is the game you always win, okay? Because you have the pop culture knowledge that I don't have.
Mara, I
But
follow
that's
her on
okay.
Twitter,
Alex Winter
anyways.
Showbiz Kids now on HBO.
Yes, it
I'm
was
cool with that.
very good. I
Okay.
mean, in a sense, we've all seen True Hollywood Stories, but it's still a freshened perspective on what it's like to be kid in the industry, especially from Will Wheaton. Just listening to Will Wheaton talk by himself about being a child actor. Oh, Henry Thomas from E.T. He and Will Wheaton and Evan Rachel Wood, I think, have the biggest.
Hmm.
And then the one kid from Jessie who passed away last year from an epileptic seizure. I can't remember his name, and I feel so bad because here's a kid who has talent, and for once it wasn't drugs that ended his life at just 20 or what have you. It was an epileptic seizure.
Wow, that's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty sucky. Anywho's, what were we talking about
Well,
again?
we were sort of trying to talk about 2049, but we weren't doing a very good job because we still have ground to cover probably on Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's interesting that Deckard has a dog. And I can't remember, is the dog supposed to be real or not? I know that Kay
Oh,
asked.
I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
it brings it
I'm
back to Blade Runner and that emotional connection that we place with animals. Here's this man who supposedly found the love of his life. They're gonna have a kid, but he can't be with them, so he replaces that loss with a dog.
with a dog, sure.
Yeah. Which, raise your hand if you can relate.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Do you pour whiskey on the floor for Star?
No. She liked an occasional beer,
Does she?
but since I didn't drink it, she could only get any when my brother was around. So,
Okay.
yeah. No, she didn't get whiskey.
I
If
just
I
thought
don't
that
get
was
whiskey, she doesn't get
get
whiskey.
whiskey.
Yeah, let's be
Fair
honest
enough.
about this.
Well,
And I am not one to share my vodka.
I
It's
don't think you share
mine.
that with anybody.
No, vodka is mine.
Yes. All the vodka is yours. You get
Yes.
all of it.
Nobody else can have any. Okay.
Okay, you got the notes. What else? What haven't we talked about?
Oh, that's still in the Blade. Oh, I didn't really have a ton of notes on 20. Oh, yes, I did. It's this page.
Well, let's finish. Any final thoughts on Blade Runner?
No, it's basically what we've already.
So you
Is
still think
their
it's one of
love
the greatest films
real?
ever made? One of the greatest films ever made, and no, go ahead.
It's a movie that has a lot of great actors in it. But I guess, like I said, I just didn't connect to it emotionally. Possibly another possible reason is I've seen many indie films that ask these same questions, but they're, a little more relatable or accessible. And I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's
I
fair
just,
too. It's not like you're not a fan of the genre. It's not like
yeah.
that was what bothered you. Like, oh, I hated all that space bullshit. That's not an issue here. So you're allowed not to like the movie.
I mean, it's got some good aspects. It just wasn't. It's your thing about Birds of Prey. It's just not
And it wasn't
meant
made
for
me.
you. Yeah.
Come on. I mean, the soundtrack.
Of Blade Runner or Birds of Prey?
Blade Runner. Blade Runner.
Birds of Prey is awesome too.
No. The soundtrack in Blade Runner is a masterpiece. And yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah. No, it is. It's good. There are good aspects. It's just not in my top favorite movies. I'm sorry. I told you that you would be disappointed.
I was walking into an opening door as soon as we started this. I knew that. So that's okay. Mm-hmm. You don't have to apologize.
So I just wrote down the quick summary of what happened in between. It's nice to know that Kane knows that he's a replicant, so you're not stuck with that whole same question that Deckard has when he starts to question himself. He very much knows this is what I am, but then his question becomes, am I this special child? His question is a little bit different, but also not that different. He's not questioning, am I a real boy? He's questioning, am I a new species of real boy?
Am I a special boy?
Yeah.
Am I special? No, you're not. Boy is sad.
Yeah, then there was more eyeballs.
More eyeballs. Lots of eyeballs in this one.
So many eyeballs. Yeah. Everybody enjoys a nice holographic 50s housewife, right?
Yeah, some of that was okay.
You didn't really like Joy?
So the made-up human has a made-up girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And another replicant that comes into the storyline makes that observation, and I don't know. It had to be something. It had to be either a holographic girlfriend or a dog or a fish or a plant, right? He had to have some kind of human-like empathy to humanize
an emotional
him.
Connection to something.
So, and obviously he was deeply connected to Joy, and within the limits of the computer program, she was connected to him. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was interesting. It was an interesting device.
So is she less real than Rachel because she's a house?
Right. And that is one of the good questions in 2049. Again, that's what Blade Runner is like, what makes us human? What makes us less than human? Right. How much less human is she than the assassin henchman woman? Mm-hmm.
Like, just because she doesn't have a body,
Right.
she's zeros and ones, therefore she's not as human. But then humans are making that same statement about the replicants.
And we know because of 2049 that there are people whose jobs it is to create these lives, these memories,
Mm-hmm.
to put in these creatures. So yeah, I don't how human are the works of humans?
And he states they do that baseline test, and he states, I don't have emotions, I don't feel, but yet you think enough and feel enough to buy your house girlfriend a present, and you call it an anniversary present. So that has emotional connections just automatically. When you say anniversary, that you're celebrating something that connects you to over a span of time. That's emotional. So you can't not have emotions when you do something like that.
No, no, you can't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
Again, that's a big old I'm not sure. It's Joy feels like she has emotions.
Mm,
She recognizes their relationship more openly than he does. She recognizes that he has a physical need and calls that hooker. Like, she wants to be with him, but is she making that choice, or is it something that's programmed into her?
right?
Has the AI evolved enough for her to have that choice and feel bad because she can't connect with him?
She understands her own mortality when when they're about to crush that little device that keeps her going remotely. She's like knows and like bye, like she knows she's over, even though
Yeah.
there's a million of her out there or millions of her out there for other people. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
he could have everything that didn't have her individual memories, but she knows that this iteration is done.
Sorry, I just had a thought, like, what if that noise you were hearing is my glasses hitting the headphones?
Is it? Well, you can
I
put them
don't
on.
know.
It hasn't been. It just noticed it for the last few minutes, so
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I
that's
was like,
okay.
I mean, I can't see you. You're just kind of a
Yeah, I'm kind of
white
freaked out right
black
now.
blob.
Yeah,
It's, do I work as Superman? Is this why Lois Lane can't tell the
I
difference
don't.
between Superman and Clark Kent?
I don't even know who the fuck you are, but I want you to put Brianna back on the computer. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Yeah. All right. He only asked if it was real, not if he was real. What was that in regards to? Is that in regards to who was he asking about? Is it the dog? There's a scene. Kay asks someone, is it real? Oh, I think he is talking about the dog.
Hmm.
It's damn, what is it? Because I found it an interesting observation that he looks at everything and everyone as having been made in a laboratory, so to speak.
Or is it just as simple as a simple callback to the first movie?
That's true. I could be overthinking.
No, I mean that's the whole point of the show. But it sometimes, yeah, we read more than the authors intended, but
Mm.
sometimes that's wonderful. Those little things that you bring part of yourself to the story. So
It allows us to have these conversations. Again, we are an opinion show if you haven't figured this out.
we have opinions.
We have opinions. We don't have facts. We
No.
have
Well,
observations.
fact, Blade Runner.
It is a movie. You're
It's
right.
a
That
movie.
is a fact.
Oh my God.
You're right. It's a
I'm,
movie.
I'm so gonna just punch you in the gut when I see you. Boom.
Just a comment about a robot looking for a dad. It's again more emotional things. He's questioning himself. He meets Deckard in real life. Like, he's learned he's going on this journey looking for this kid. and it sends him down the road of looking for Deckard, and he's relating to Deckard like, we're both Blade Runners, this is the life you had. He's looking for that mentor-father relationship that is the core of so many stories. Actually, isn't it the core of every story? We're just looking for a great many of them.
Yeah.
A great many of them. We're looking for someone to either connect with. Well, no matter what, it's about an emotional connection. Rather, it's a parent, a sibling, a love interest, a child. Are you the teacher? Are you the student? It's there. Hey, this time when Deckard got beat up, I think he gets a couple of hits in first. Before he just gets laid out. Yeah.
Did you like the Vegas stuff?
I like yeah. Okay. When you throw in Elvis, I mean, who doesn't love a little bit of Elvis? And that's another thing to build up on who Kay is. Like, he has an interest in what is classical music to them. Yeah.
I actually like the Sinatra jukebox coming out of the jukebox at Harrison Ford's bar, but yeah.
I mean, Sinatra. He's just, you gotta love him.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah. And then my final note is just kind of another shout out to any film or book or movie or TV show. Anytime they refer to, like in this case, it's the child, and you have Kay believing it's him, it automatically means it's the opposite. Like, if they're not specifically saying the male child, it means it's going to be a female child, and it's not you. You're not special, okay? You're not. This is the number one problem with kids nowadays. Parents all tell them you're special. You're not special. You have things that make you interesting.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you have things that make you interesting.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just boring and you take up space.
It doesn't revolve around you. I'm sorry.
I'm not special and I have a sad.
No. I'm kind of mean. I'm just dashing hopes here and there.
It's what you do.
Yeah.
It's your role in this world. That's what it's for. So does Kay die on those steps?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, because then it led to I started to think, I'm like, wait, can he bleed out? But the others bled out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, right? Like, how could he not?
Chris, yeah.
How could he not? But then again,
I've got a really strong feeling that Deckard is staying in that building for a while to get to know his long-lost daughter. So the chances of him stepping outside to be like, hey, Kay, you okay with that gut wound? Cool. Glad to hear it.
Yeah. Take care of yourself, okay?
Yeah. I mean, he might live a little bit longer because he's out in the cold.
Oh, there's that. But then again, I don't know. Who's going to save him? You know what I mean? Like, the one person in the police department that was his ally is dead. Granted, the evil people that were chasing him aren't dead, but everyone else in the police department hates him because he's a replicant. Mm-hmm. And they make that very clear, which is cool, actually. I like that, seeing those other officers treat him like shit. Not because I enjoy that, but because, again, I think it fleshes out that character better. Mm-hmm. That, wow, like, humans suck. You know what I mean? Like,
which I think is kind of an interesting thing when you get to that rebel faction, and I can't remember her name. So the hooker is with, who is like, hey, guess what? We are a people. We have a community. You can be part of this community and join us. But he spends so much of the first hour and a half feeling alone, and like he has no other connections. Like, he is just their toy being told to go do that and go do this. So when he does get to those rebels And then again, he's like, I'm going to reject you. But he's sad and he's going to go take his own life because he learns that he's not special and his girlfriend's dead. Those are all emotions that make you human.
So he proves his humanity even as he's dying.
Mm-hmm.
So poignant.
Get you in the heart if
I
you
guess.
have a heart, unlike me.
I didn't find the climax of that film really get me in the, you know what I mean? Like Kay dying, like Deckard meeting his daughter. It all kind of, it was really sterile and like secondhand for me. I don't know. It wasn't a bad movie. It was a very mechanical version, whereas for me, Blade Runner is much more human.
That's fair.
Okay.
I'm sorry, like that's fair. I got nothing really to add to that.
Okay. Fair enough. Well,
Yeah,
should we wrap this up? Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, I think I liked it more having not seen Blade Runner.
Ooh.
But again, it was obviously very forgettable since I didn't remember it at all. So then having watched it back to back, it felt more of just a repetition. And I definitely felt the 3 hours the second time around.
Oh my God. Yeah. That movie's just interminably long. Yeah. Just crazy. Like the whole fight by the dam in the car with the water and just enough. Okay. What, just really, do we need that? I don't know. I didn't.
There's things that they could just literally take the entire half hour out and you'd be fine.
That could have been slimmed down a little bit. Mm-hmm. It was a really long movie, and it was gorgeous and it was nicely done. And I don't dislike the movie, unlike you.
Again, it's not like I'm sitting here saying these movies are trash. I hate them. They're movies.
This is just the way you get back at me for Strange Magic.
Were you high or drunk when you watched it? Because that's important. Okay?
I'll leave that to the listener to decide.
Okay, if you are watching Strange Magic, you need to be either drunk or high.
Or both.
Or both. Safely. In your own home. With people you trust. Or you just need to be slightly crazy. Like me. Yeah. Also a little bit drunk.
Yeah, not a little bit. About this much of the bottle. Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I think that does wrap up the best movie of all time that I loved more than anything else, Blade Runner. I said it.
It's suddenly, again, it just feels so generational. Like, okay, I get it. I'll let it go. I'm fine with that. Yeah. That's it for this episode. Anything else is just going to cause me more pain. And it's all about me. And if I'm not special.
I mean, you're a man, therefore you are special.
I am exactly. Thank you so much for saying what I was going to say before I said it. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I mansplained being a man to you. Look at me go.
Wow. But if you did it, it wasn't mansplaining, it was girlsplaining.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, again, I could be wrong, but if you explain something that's a very simple concept to someone, no matter who explains it, it's still mansplaining.
Generically, it's mansplaining, huh?
Yeah, just kind of a generic cover-all.
That's where I want to be.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks to all of our listeners. And look for a new episode sometime in the future. Soon. Sometime in the future. Exactly. That's where we'll see you.
2049.
It's going to be 30 years.